What ETOA says about new UK travel rules and the Global Travel Taskforce. Setting up a traffic light system of green, amber, and red will be used to identify the travel and health risk of countries. With vaccines continuing to roll out, COVID testing will remain an essential part of protecting public health as restrictions begin to ease. The permission to travel form will be removed, meaning passengers will no longer need to prove they have a valid reason to leave the country. The Global Travel Taskforce is an advisory body of the Government of the United Kingdom. Secretary of State for Transport, Grant Shapps announced the formation of the group on October 7, 2020 as a cross-government response to an identified need to enable the safe and sustainable recovery of international travel and to introduce a COVID-19 testing system for travelers visiting the UK. In February 2021, the Prime Minister asked the Secretary of State for Transport to convene a successor to the Global Travel Taskforce, building on the recommendations set out in November 2020 to develop a framework for a safe and sustainable return to international travel when the time is right. Traffic light system. A traffic light system, which will categorize countries based on risk alongside the restrictions required for travel, will be set up to protect the public and the vaccine rollout from international COVID-19 variants. Key factors in the assessment will include the percentage of their population that have been vaccinated, the rate of infection, the prevalence of variants of concern, the country's access to reliable scientific data and genomic sequencing. The traffic light system will work this way. Green, arrivals will need to take a pre-departure test as well as a polymerase chain reaction (PCR) test on or before day 2 of their arrival back into the UK, but will not need to quarantine on return unless they receive a positive result or take any additional tests, having the cost of tests on their return from holiday. Amber, arrivals will need to quarantine for a period of 10 days and take a pre-departure test, and a PCR test on day 2 and day 8 with the option for test to release on day 5 to end self-isolation early. Red, arrivals will be subject to restrictions currently in place for red list countries, which include a 10-day stay in a managed quarantine hotel, pre-departure testing and PCR testing on day 2 and 8. Arrivals traveling from red list countries should book a quarantine package before departure, and arrivals from amber and green countries will be required to book test packages before traveling from one of the government's approved list of providers. Testing remains an essential part of protecting public health as restrictions begin to ease, with all arrivals who are not exempt required to book a pre-departure, day 2 and day 8 test before traveling. Testing post-arrival remains an important tool in our wider measures to manage the risk of imported cases, allowing us to monitor positive tests and ensure people isolate, as well as identify and genomically sequence variants of concern. The report, produced by the Global Travel Taskforce, includes the removal of the permission to travel form, meaning passengers would no longer need to prove they have a valid reason to leave the country. The UK government will also work with the travel industry and private testing providers ahead of international travel reopening, to see how we can further reduce the cost of travel for the British public, while ensuring travel is as safe as possible. This could include cheaper tests being used when holiday makers return home, as well as whether the government would be able to provide pre-departure tests. It is too early to predict which countries will be on which list over the summer, and the government continues to consider a range of factors to inform the restrictions placed on them, said Shapps. They will set out by early May which countries will fall into which category, as well as confirming whether international travel can resume from May 17, 2021. ETOA. Tom Jenkins, CEO of ETOA, said, "On one level it is great that the government is adopting ideas from Europe. Ireland adopted a similar traffic light system last year, and it has the virtue of being reasonably clear. There is a blithe assumption that the test fees are small. If you are an individual popping off to Tuscany for a wedding, £100 sounds little more than a dinner. For a family, this is a devastating imposition. We have to start looking at the situation from the point of view of our customers. No one is clear if they are going to be allowed to come to Britain. The economy will struggle to restart in any meaningful way without foreign visitors, who pump over £30 billion a year into the service economy." shops, attractions, hotels and attractions are reliant on this business and still have no idea when it will start. Clarity and consistency is needed, and there are still bizarre decisions being made in the hospitality sector. Why go out of your way to extend grants to strip clubs and hostess bars, but not tour operators? Why offer restart money to discotheques, shisha bars and waterpipe consumption venues but specifically exclude coach tour operators? ETOA CEO Tom Jenkins is also a board member of the World Tourism Network. Contact Tom Jenkins 07747 792697. ETOA is the trade association for better tourism in Europe, working with policymakers to enable a fair and sustainable business environment, so that Europe remains competitive and appealing for visitors and residents. With over 1,200 members serving 63 origin markets, they are a powerful voice at local, national and European levels. Our members include tour and online operators, intermediaries and wholesalers, European tourist boards, hotels, attractions, technology companies and other tourism service providers ranging in size from global brands to local independent businesses. They have offices in Brussels and London and representation in Spain, France and Italy. Holiday Pirates. Nicholas Cooper, Commercial Partnerships, UK and North America for Holiday Pirates said, today's announcements from the Global Travel Taskforce and comments from the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps provides a step change for the prospects of international travel. While it is frustrating for travelers and the travel industry that we still don't have clarity on exactly when international leisure travel will open up, today's framework announcement gives us renewed hope for international holidays this summer, which will likely be dominated by late bookings. The continued uncertainty ahead of more concrete news does present an opportunity for bargain hunters prepared to be flexible and fleet of foot as travel companies continue to offer strong deals while demand remains temporarily low. In the meantime, we continue to see staycations performing well for the summer holidays. Compared to 2019, where domestic travel represented 20%, it now represents 40% of our business. In addition, today's news show positive and encouraging signs for overseas travel later this year. Holiday Pirates is a leading travel deals platform and app, which curates and compiles the best travel deals from countless websites and travel partners for cheap flights, hotels, travel packages, vouchers, bus and train deals. The online portal is one of the fastest growing digital travel companies in Europe. Fans and followers stay up to date by setting custom alerts on apps, following on social media, subscribing to newsletters or simply visiting one of the websites. Holiday Pirates has websites in the UK, Austria, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, Spain, Switzerland and the USA, and each travel portal in the group operates fully independently of the operators and partners. The company has offices in 9 countries. Contact Francis at wearelotus.co.uk, telephone 07415 136001. Focus Travel Partnership. Abby Pinston, CEO of Focus Travel Partnership, the leading business travel consortium for the SME sector, said, any loosening of restrictions will provide oxygen to recovery for business travel. Whilst the sector has continued to service the needs of key workers and essential travelers throughout the pandemic, everyday business travel has operated at a fraction of 2019 rates, and the continued lack of clarity on dates and countries for non-essential travel will put the brakes on a full return. Although the UK has done brilliantly with its vaccine rollout, other countries are still very much playing catch-up, and as we operate in a global community, concerns over duty of care and public health considerations will still necessarily take center stage. European lockdowns, changing border controls, destination entry restrictions, testing and quarantine requirements are all making international travel recovery a lot more complicated. This is why the services of responsible travel management companies, who provide the highest levels of duty of care for business travelers, have never been so important. Focus Travel Partnership is the leading business travel consortium for the independent and SME sector and has 54 members with a turnover of £1 billion. The partnership uses the members' collective size and buying power to negotiate the best deals with suppliers in the air, rail and tech sectors. Focus Travel Partnership believes that as SMEs make up 80% of jobs in the UK and over 99% of all private sector businesses, it will be key to economic recovery. Rebuilding travel.